This is Houston. Say again, please.
Houston, we have a problem.
Apollo 13 is directed by Ron Howard, and it stars Tom Hanks, Bill Paxton, and Kevin Bacon as the three astronauts that in April of 1970 struggled to survive and return home safely after an explosion during the Apollo 13 mission to the moon. It's already been 20 years since I first saw this film in the theaters. I watched it again last night and I loved every second of it. It hasn't dated at all. It remains a remarkable film. This depiction of the real-life drama of the Apollo 13 mission is the perfect homage to the hundreds of men and women at NASA that worked to get those three men back to Earth safely. Even when things seemed hopeless, they never gave up. And as Gene Kranz, Ed Harris's character, says at the end of the film, it was one of NASA's finest hours indeed. The film is a must if you haven't seen it. Even if you know how it ends, it still provides a wonderful and emotional experience. Ron Howard is in great form and he treats the material with enormous attention to detail, always staying true to the actual events and constantly paying tribute to the geniuses that helped prevent the disaster from happening. Apollo 13 has a running time of 2 hours and 19 minutes, and every single time I see this film, I'm sad when it's over. Those 2 hours seem more like 20 minutes. It's a film that grabs and pulls you into it very early on and you just want to stay there with these characters. The pacing is perfect and the script is extremely well structured. In my view, you have a great story arc working to perfection, but you also have a beautiful character arc with Jim Lovell, played by Tom Hanks. The B story of Apollo 13, mostly centered around Jim Lovell's wife, Marilyn, played by Kathleen Quinlan, is the heart and soul of the film. The drama being experienced back on Earth through Marilyn's eyes bridges the action to the drama of this film masterfully. We all want these guys to get back home safely, but we especially want Marilyn Lovell to see her husband again. I can't stress how much this husband and wife connection makes Apollo 13 that much better. The dynamic between the three astronauts is mostly of a professional nature, but naturally becomes more emotional and tense as the story progresses. Jim Lovell has to be a true leader to keep the spirits up and the focus where it needs to be, but he also has to deal with his personal frustration of not being able to walk on the moon. It's heartbreaking to see Lovell accept that his dream is lost, but it's also inspiring to see him lead his crew back to safety. Back on Earth, you see the team at NASA also overcoming obstacles, remaining professional and focused, but also dealing with pressure and emotion as time goes by. This is mostly encapsulated in Gene Kranz, Ed Harris's character. It's wonderful to see him at the end decompressing his emotions subtly when the astronauts are finally safe. Ed Harris provides an exceptional performance. I think it's fair to say that the characters in this film are extremely well developed, maybe because it's a portrayal of real people. But not just that. Even with great source material like this, real-life events, you still need to be very good at what you do to pull it off so brilliantly. I'm talking about writing, directing, and acting at very, very high standards. As you've probably guessed, I think the performances of this film are perfect. Tom Hanks, of course, does a tremendous job with his leading role. His performance makes the film that much more believable and relatable, and his chemistry with Kathleen Quinlan is gripping. Considering they only share a few scenes together, you always get the feeling that they're very close the entire film. Of course, merits also go to Kathleen Quinlan for achieving this. She delivers an extremely powerful and solid performance. Bill Paxton and Kevin Bacon play the other two astronauts along for the ride, Fred Hayes and Jack Swigert respectively. Bill Paxton is for me sometimes an underrated actor. We mostly know him for great supporting roles, but I always go back to Sam Raimi's A Simple Plan when I think about him. He does a great job in that film, and I think he has a lot to give as an actor. Kevin Bacon is no exception in terms of quality in this film. He is an established actor and his contribution to Apollo 13 goes right up there next to other countless amazing and solid performances throughout his diverse career. He's Kevin Bacon, nothing to add there. Also noteworthy are Ed Harris and Gary Sinise, the two main characters back at NASA. As I mentioned before, Ed Harris delivers an amazing performance and he is mesmerizing to watch. Gary Sinise is an actor I love. Apart from Forrest Gump, one of the films I love to watch him in is Ransom, also directed by Ron Howard. He's such a versatile actor, and in this film playing Ken Mattingly, he proves that once again. Watch Apollo 13 and Ransom back to back and you'll see how great he really is. Ron Howard is a very effective director. His films usually work and leave you satisfied. Apollo 13 is no exception. In fact, it's one of his finest achievements. Some scenes inside the spacecraft were shot in actual zero gravity, using a reduced gravity aircraft. A hollowed-out, windowless padded Boeing 707 jet that climbs to 30,000 feet, then arcs into a steep dive, creating a 23-second period of weightlessness. Of course, only compositions that had the actor's entire body floating in frame were shot using this method. Otherwise, it would have taken ages and a lot more resources to complete. The medium close-ups and close-ups were done in a soundstage. The final illusion was achieved with smooth editing and miming by the actors to simulate weightlessness when it wasn't there. Movie magic at your service. Ron Howard is a great storyteller, and I love how he makes an effort for the audience to always care about the characters. There aren't any two-dimensional characters in his films. They are always very strong and structured, be it the hero or the villain. He's a maestro of emotions, and he hits you before you even know something was coming. The music of Apollo 13 cannot go unmentioned. James Horner writes one of the best scores of his career. The music is absolutely beautiful. The action cues are great, and the emotional ones are phenomenal, to say the least. The fantastic launch set piece and the breathtaking end credits cue are just a couple of examples of great film music working beautifully to tell a story. It's a memorable score and a must to any soundtrack lover out there. And here we are, 20 years later, looking back at such a great film. I watched Apollo 13 when I was only 15, and nothing changed from that first screening to yesterday when I was sitting at home. It's an emotional roller coaster. It's excellent filmmaking, and it's an absolute must for everyone.